Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something incredibly common but rarely talked about. We're unpacking the hidden psychology behind a very specific, often invisible kind of pain, and, believe it or not, a really profound kind of strength. We're going to look directly at the deeply ingrained psychological patterns that form when you spend your life as a safety net. All right, let's jump right in. So, have you ever felt that quiet, lingering sting of being someone's backup plan? Seriously, think about it for a second. Maybe you weren't the favorite child growing up, or perhaps you were never the first call friend in your group, or the absolute top priority in a romantic relationship. It's a heavy feeling, isn't it? Knowing you're valued, sure, but always just slightly after someone else. If you've spent a big chunk of your life feeling like a safety net, well, it's actually shaped your mind and behavior in ways you probably don't even fully realize yet. Section 1, the second choice personality. You see, psychology points out something really fascinating. One of the most painful human experiences isn't actually outright rejection. Rejection is tough, for sure, but hey, at least it's clear. The real pain of being the second choice? It's the sheer exhaustion of being accepted, but only after someone else said no. It's that sting of conditional acceptance. And when you constantly exist in that space, your brain literally starts to quietly rewire itself to navigate a world where your position just always feels precarious. Moving on to Section 2, rejection sensitivity and survival. Now, if you resonate with this second choice experience, you probably have this incredible hyper-awareness of social signals. Like, you might sense someone pulling away or notice the vibe changing in a room way before anyone else even admits it to themselves. You literally read the room before the room knows what it's feeling. But why exactly does your brain do this? Well, the answer lies in how our brains adapt. Psychology actually shows that repeated social rejection, or in this case, the repeated quiet sting of not being chosen first, dramatically cranks up what clinical research calls rejection sensitivity. Your brain has basically been conditioned by your past environments to stay constantly vigilant. It's fiercely scanning the horizon for any tiny sign that you're about to be demoted to backup status all over again. Your brain's radar essentially turns into this high-powered machine dedicated to reading subtle cues. You instantly notice the slightest drop in a friend's tone of voice. You pick up on that weird, uncharacteristic pause in a text thread. You detect these microscopic shifts in behavior that completely fly under the radar of the average person. And honestly, it is completely exhausting to have your brain running at that frequency all day, every single day. So here is the absolute crucial point I want you to hear. This hyper-awareness, it is not just insecurity. Please don't let anyone tell you you're just being paranoid. This is a highly adapted survival mechanism. Your brain developed this intense sensitivity because it learned very early on that being ignored or quietly pushed to the side usually happens without warning. It's just your brain trying to protect you by spotting the quiet exit before it even arrives. Which brings us to Section 3, the overgiving trap. Deep down, living as a second choice creates this profound, nagging fear of being temporary. There's this subtle, constant belief just running in the background of your mind that you could be quietly swapped or replaced the exact moment a better option strolls along. And the thing is, you don't actually fear being alone. You're probably incredibly good at being alone. What terrifies you is that exact moment someone realizes they found a supposedly better option than you. And that specific fear leads directly into the trap of overgiving. Attachment psychology explains this perfectly, actually. When you grow up feeling replaceable, your natural human instinct is to try and become irreplaceable. You know the drill. You might find yourself downplaying your own needs, completely avoiding conflict, or giving way more time, energy, and understanding than you ever get back. You end up accepting less than you deserve just to stay included. But listen, that's not because you're weak. It's because your brain learned that love feels conditional, and it's operating under the illusion that you have to somehow earn your spot as a first choice.
Now, let's pivot to Section 4, your hidden emotional strength. This is where things get really interesting.
I absolutely love this concept. We call it the logic gap. Research on resilience actually shows that people who have faced chronic social exclusion develop this immense, almost superhuman emotional endurance. Think about it for a second. You can survive disappointments that would absolutely break other people down simply because you've seen it all before. You stay calm when plans fall apart. You don't panic when people leave. Your strength isn't loud and it sure isn't flashy, but it is this quiet, formidable ability to keep moving forward even when the world feels totally indifferent to you.
Because you couldn't always count on being the priority, developmental psychology points out that your brain adapted through ultimate self-reliance. You developed a fierce sense of independence. You learned to handle your pain alone, to solve your own problems, and sadly, sometimes you even had to celebrate your biggest wins quietly. Now, you don't necessarily hate getting help, but you've definitely learned not to trust that help to stick around. You're essentially your own rescue mission. And yeah, while that can feel incredibly lonely sometimes, it's also given you a level of total, unshakable autonomy that most people will literally never achieve. Your past has fundamentally reshaped your entire value system. While everyone else is out there chasing the intensity, the hype, and the shiny excitement of brand new attention, your highly tuned brain prioritizes consistency and safety. Being chosen once for some flashy, fleeting moment, that doesn't mean much to you anymore. You value the person who chooses you every single day. You've completely outgrown the need for hype, and instead, you're looking for deep honesty, actual effort, and just unshakable loyalty. All right, final part, section 5, becoming your first choice. If everything we've talked about in this explainer feels a little uncomfortably accurate to your life right now, I really want you to let this next part sink in. Once you see the pattern, you can finally stop blaming yourself. Your second choice past did not make you less valuable. Actually, scratch that. It did the exact opposite. It made you vastly more observant, far more resilient, and so much more independent than the people who were always just handed the first pick. You possess an emotional toolkit that is incredibly rare. So, how do we actually put this into practice? First off, you've got to start noticing that urge to overgive just to feel included. Second, and this is honestly the most actionable tool you have, take a 3-second pause before you offer more time, energy, or money than you realistically have to give. Literally just 3 seconds. And third, use that brief pause to prove your intrinsic worth. Prove to yourself that your value is absolutely not tied to being someone else's first choice. It is exclusively tied to being your own first choice. I want to leave you with a very specific request. Don't just click away and move on to the next thing after this explainer ends. I want you to take a moment and genuinely reflect on one specific area of your life right now where you might be overgiving just to avoid feeling replaceable. Try practicing that 3-second pause today, because real strength doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. So the next time you feel that familiar urge to over-accommodate, ask yourself this. Are you acting out of love, or are you just auditioning for a spot you already deserve?